Check it out. So this is really cool and I'm really touched. I just had my birthday and my brother Lee and my sister Dawn and her husband Mike, so my brother-in-law, they decided to do something really cool for me, and they designed a logo, and I'm going to be using that from now on. So I have my own graphic for my own show with a car just like mine, and I'm really touched that they did something so cool and thoughtful, and I'm just so happy that they're encouraging me in everything that I do, and they're a behind-the-scenes part of this adventure here. And so hats off to them. Thanks. Okay, welcome back to my show, Okanagan Modified. As you can see, I've been driving my 1970 Dart Swinger all summer with the engine that I built, and I'm still finding my temperatures are a little bit hot. So we're going to go over 3 things in this episode that I think are going to make a dramatic difference. And the first modification I just made is I've added a shroud to my radiator so that my fan can pull air through the radiator more completely. If you remember back, I had just mounted my electric fan directly to my radiator, but that doesn't really get to the corners very well. And so I went to the guys at Eagle Fab in Vernon, and I drew exactly what I wanted, and they went and they built it exactly the way I wanted it. And I'm really happy with the way this turned out. So I have a really nice looking fan shroud that can evenly pull air through my radiator right through the corners that weren't covered before. And a cool way to test it is just taking a piece of tissue paper, and I can stick it to the radiator anywhere because I've got good airflow through it. And so I took it for a drive, and that got me about an extra 10 degrees Fahrenheit cooler. And so that brought my temps down. You know, I was running 215, 210, and then I'm running 205, you know, and I'm happy about that, but I still think the engine runs hot. Hanging out with some of the local car guys, and we did some adjustments, and I was driving around. I was still getting hotter and hotter, and I got home, and I popped the hood, and I can see that my exhaust headers were just glowing. Take a look at this picture. You'll notice how red the pipes are. So, you know, doing some research on that, there's 2 primary reasons why that would happen. And one of them is being way too lean on the air-fuel mixture. And the second one being the timing is too far retarded. So what I did was I shut the car down and went back to basics. So I pulled out my timing light, and I found that I had it set to around 12 degrees before top dead center for my initial timing. And, you know, in most Mopars, that would probably be okay. But with my camshaft having so much, you know, early valve timing to open them and later to close them, this camshaft is nothing like the factory ones. So it can't have tuning like all the other ones. So I went back to basics. I ran the engine, and I just turned the distributor until I got the maximum amount of vacuum I can get, and the RPM increased, and then I got to a point where it was getting worse. So I kind of found that sweet spot. So rather than go by the book, I was just feeling out the car for what it wants. And that pipe glowing went away. And then, of course, I could reset my idle speed and readjust my air-fuel mixture and everything after that again. So that helped out a lot. A few episodes back, I was having these problems where the car was banging loud in the exhaust. There was unburned fuel getting through the engine and igniting down the line, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. I tried all kinds of things, and one of the things I did was I tried a hotter spark plug. I went to a BKR 4E, so that's 1 range hotter than stock, and that was the wrong thing to do. The problem was that the ignition coil was on the way out. It was making a very weak spark, and the car was just running poorly. I put a new coil on, and everything came back. But let's talk about that. So, reading manuals and learning more about spark plugs, the more compression you add to an engine, either by forced induction or, superchargers, turbochargers, possibly if you're running nitrous, you got to know what heat range plug you need to change to. And so a general rule of thumb on these small block Mopar engines is if you're adding 75 to 100 horsepower, you should go one heat range colder. And so, I've got this engine and I've raised the compression. I've added well over 100 horsepower more than stock. And I went the wrong way. I put a hotter plug in an engine that is already crying out for a colder plug. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and we're going to put in a BKR6E. So that's one heat range colder than factory. And I'm hoping that my higher compression engine will like that. Because what I'm getting is like still hot temps and the odd pinging at high RPM. And so I'm thinking I can eliminate that. Well, the mistake I made was that I viewed the spark plugs as quite simply something that ignites the air-fuel mixture. I didn't really look at the whole, thermal control of them over what's going on in that cylinder head. And that's what I hope you learn from this episode is, do a bit of research on the proper heat range. Don't guess around so much. You can figure it out. So, looking at the plugs coming out, they don't look bad. But I'm going to try to avoid this knocking and pinging that I've been getting at high RPM. That's pre-ignition. And this plug is so hot, it's retaining so much heat that it's igniting the air-fuel mixture before the spark fires. And that's what we're going to fix here. And I just do them one at a time, and that way I don't get the firing order all mixed up or my cables crossed or anything like that. There's no reason to just rush and create more problems than I already have. So typically when I pull a spark plug out of the box, it's usually gapped right at 3.5 where I want it. But I put my gauge on it right away and it was at about 0.41, 0.42. So I've gone ahead and I've closed the gap. Gapping spark plugs is something that you can do for performance. If you have a real hot coil, you can go ahead and you can have a bigger gap, something you can try. I've done it in cars in the past with great success. But you know what? I'm just going to leave it at the factory 0.35. And, that won't put any excessive load on my ignition coil. Because, you know what? I have had ignition coils fail prematurely. And I've also run some big, huge gaps. And so I'm thinking that that puts a big strain on ignition coils. And you know what? I want reliability. So I'm going to leave it at 0.35. Of course, the passenger side takes like 5 minutes, but the driver's side takes like half an hour. And you always want to make sure you have that positive click on your spark plug boot. You can really feel when you have a good connection. I really thought that I'd be at the drag strip already this year, but I got to get real. This engine needs to be reliable. I need to see it sitting in normal operating temperatures and broken in a little bit first. So, I'm just taking my time doing that. It's my hobby. I don't get to work on this every day. I don't get to drive it every day. And just getting there step by step. I don't know what I'm going to do with 8 spark plugs that are too hot for me to use. I don't see anybody on Marketplace ever listing spark plugs or, trying to buy used spark plugs from somebody else. But, at this point, I'd be willing to just give them away so they're not wasting space in my garage. Call it $45 mistake. Okay, so it's fired up great on these new plugs, and I'm ready to hit the road and give it a shot. So that went really great. The car seemed to really like those colder plugs. There was absolutely no hesitation, no knocking, pinging, anything weird. The car performed right up to 6,000 RPM where I took it, no problem. I drove it around for about half an hour. It was really good. Temperatures were averaging around 190, 195. Then did a bit of a burnout, and then got a little bit hotter, like 200, and those temps weren't really going down. And I went into town, did a little shopping, and got home, and the temps were around 210. So I feel like that's still a bit high for water temp, and I know it's not the gauge misreading because I also have a mechanical gauge and a laser, and yeah, it is actually that hot. All right, you can see I've taken my air cleaner off. I'm ready to do a little bit more tuning. So I'll play with the timing a little bit more, give it just a bit more and see what it does. And I will also go ahead and have to readjust my idle again in my idle air fuel mixture. And I'm going to purposely do it a little bit richer this time. And maybe the added fuel will help. Let's give that a try and see what it does. Okay, there you have it. I did 3 modifications and they really worked. I think I probably went a little bit too rich and I got a little bit of tuning to do there. But my temperatures never exceeded 195 and that's normal. And so that's exactly what I hope to accomplish. The only note I have is it's a cold evening out there. It's only 25 degrees Celsius. And a lot of my previous drives, it's been, 30, 40 degrees Celsius out there. So, this isn't the perfect hot day test, but it's, a normal driving conditions test. And it passed with flying colors. So where do I go from here to get that little bit extra cooling, for those really hot days where I'm really going to beat on it? Well, I think that this 2300 cubic foot per minute fan should probably be replaced with one that can be more like 3,000 or more, and that would help. I could take this fan shroud off, make another one that can have dual fans, maybe that are a little bit smaller, but when they're combined it can be closer to 4,000 cubic feet per minute. And I think that would really help, because when this car has forward highway speed, it's got enough airflow that cooling is not an issue. So if I can just have that airflow through the radiator when the car's not moving, I think I'll be set. There's some other things I'm going to do just to make this even better, because that's what I do, is I'm going to put some more water wetter into the radiator, and that is a super coolant additive that will help the heat transferability of the water itself. And it has rust inhibitors, so it's only going to help this car. Another idea that I've always had, I don't know how much it's going to help, but I'm going to add a sandwich adapter where my oil filter goes and run some lines up across my fender and install a remote mount oil filter, and then I'll add a line that goes to an oil cooler. So that's going to add more oil capacity, and it's going to add an oil cooling ability that it never had. So if anything, that'll drop the oil temp a few degrees, which will probably help the engine a little bit, and it'll keep prolonging my engine life. So that's a modification that I plan on doing over the winter. And so I just wanted to let you know those things as options that can help a little bit. And there's two little old school tricks that I want to mention right at the end of this video. So one thing you can do if you're driving around and your car's really hot is you can turn your heater on, and your fan motor will blow through your heater core, and that'll transfer some of that heat energy into your cabin, but at least it's taking the load, the hot water out of that system a little bit. And that's an old school trick. And another old school trick people do is they take the windshield washer fluid hose and they relocate it and put a mist into the front of the radiator itself. And squirting that will help carry some heat away as well. And so that's not ideal, but I've seen race cars do it as a way to just sort of rapidly cool down. And if you had to, it's just a secret trick that helps. And so let's end this episode right here. That's enough rambling from me. I hope you enjoyed it. I have some feature cars lined up and some more cool stuff to show you. So thanks for watching.